Welcome to Mattis Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. Let me start with all that excitement that we saw in North America around the eclipse. Today we witnessed the solar eclipse at NASA and posted this. And then I like this, the 82nd Airborne Division at Fort Bragg was smart enough to schedule a jump today so they could take this pic. That's some awesomeness, and it was interesting because here in Nairobi it certainly felt more luminous, a kind of luminescence in the light grey, you know, that gunmetal grey you get, quite dark. And I was wondering to myself, you know, did the eclipse leak, as it were, over Africa? Macro thoughts talking down the euro won't work. Take a look at this chart. It's currently at 117.93. I think, you know, we at a push we could get as low as 114.50, but still stay within the bull trend. And if you go back to the longer term charts, you'll see that sort of area was a key area of resistance. This caught my attention. A technician inspects Bitcoin mining machines at a Bitmain Technologies Limited facility in Inner Mongolia on August the 11th. Bitcoin was down sharply, but it's coming back a little bit today. I think it was down about 11% at one point. Home thoughts, in-camera, multiple exposure of the phases of the solar eclipse, YAM photo. Then I can come across an article, Annie Dillard's classic essay, Total Eclipse, which is in the Atlantic. Empty space stoppered our eyes and mouths. We cared for nothing. We remembered our living days wrong. Seeing a partial eclipse bears the same relation to seeing a total eclipse as kissing a man does to marrying him. I turned back to the sun. It was going, the sun was going, and the world was wrong. The grasses were wrong, they were platinum. Their every detail of stem, head, and blade shone lightless and artificially distinct as an art photographer's platinum print. This colour has never been seen on Earth. The hues were metallic, their finish was matte. The hillside was a 19th century tinted photograph from which the tints had faded. All the people you see in the photograph, distinct and detailed as their faces look, are now dead. The sky was navy blue. My hands were silver. All the distant hills' grasses were fine-spun metal, which the wind laid down. I was watching a faded colour print of a movie filmed in the Middle Ages. I was standing in it by some mistake. I was standing in a movie of hillside grasses filmed in the Middle Ages. I missed my own century, the people I knew, and the real light of day. Worth reading. Of course, Trump ignored everyone and watched the solar eclipse without any glasses. That was Newsweek. And you know, I was reading that book, the Picador Book of Journeys. And, in that is an extract from The Worst Journey in the World by Apsley, Cherry-Gerrard. In June 1911, Bowers, Cherry-Gerrard, and Wilson started a hellish journey to collect eggs from an emperor penguin colony at Cape Crozier, more than 100 kilometers away. And that story is just extraordinary. For 5 weeks, the three men battled ferocious winds and an average temperature of minus 40 degrees centigrade. They traveled in darkness with only scant twilight at midday and occasional moonlight. They came very close to death when their only tent blew away in a violent blizzard. It was pure luck that they found it again. It's an extraordinary, searing extract in that book. It's just amazing. And then, having fought and battled to get these eggs, they go to present them. And Despite this, the eggs and the embryos have scientific significance. They remain part of the Natural History Museum's collections. Back in Britain, the study of the embryos was delayed by the First World War and the death of the embryologist who was assigned to analyze them. And then basically they come to deliver them and suddenly it just get dismissed. I like this. The two-seater Vision Mercedes Maybach 6 Cabriolet pays homage to the automotive haute couture of hand-finished exclusive cabriolets. Look fantastic. Afghanistan, obviously going to come to that momentarily, but it took me back to a book I read, which was the autobiography of Emperor Baburnama, and the translation that I read on the recommendation, I think, of the New Yorker was by somebody called Wheeler Thaxton Jr. It's a remarkable book. It's an official chronicle and a highly personal memoir, a vivid, extraordinary, detailed picture of life in Central Asia and India during the late 15th and early 16th centuries. And it's well worth reading. His descriptions of melons and peaches are amazing. In all Fergana, no fort is so strong as Apsley. Its suburbs extend some 2 miles further than the walled town. People say of Apsley, where is the village? Where are the trees? Its melons are excellent. One variety of them is known as Mir Timuri and may have no equal in the world. The melons of Bukhara are famous. It's worth reading in full. Trump offers open-ended US commitment to shore up Afghanistan. Our nation must seek an honorable and enduring outcome worthy of the tremendous sacrifices that have been made. The consequences of a rapid exit are both predictable and unacceptable. We can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other groups that pose a threat to the region and beyond, Trump said. Pakistan has much to gain from partnering with our effort in Afghanistan. It has much to lose by continuing to harbor terrorists. My original instinct was to pull out, and historically I like following my instincts, but all of my life I heard that decisions are much different when you sit behind the desk in the Oval Office, he told his audience at the base, which is adjacent to Arlington National Cemetery just outside the nation's capital. Trump said he will give more authority to military commanders and lift restrictions that he said were hindering the ability of troops in the field to target terrorist and criminal networks throughout Afghanistan. But we will no longer use American military might to construct democracies in faraway lands or try to rebuild other countries in our own image, he said. Those days are now over. And I conclude by saying Afghanistan to the US is like Yemen is to Saudi Arabia. These are wars that cannot be won. These folks have got nothing. They will not give up. The Taliban, Afghanistan to become a graveyard for the US. He's obviously going to turn up the dial big time. Small point, Western powers have been trying to defeat Afghan forces similar to the Taliban since the mid-1800s. That's why I said go and read Baburnama, because actually he did manage to conquer them. First degree possible result of new political proximity between US and India, strengthening of China-Pakistan's alliance, more tension between India and China, exactly. You've got a standoff in the Himalayas between China and India. Pakistan is now all in with China with the Gwadar port, so you're basically now drawing lines here. We'll have to see, because there wasn't much flesh on the bone. Look at this. His Majesty King Abdullah receives the US Secretary of State James Mattis in Jordan, and at the same time he was also receiving, well, on the same day, he was also receiving President Erdoğan at the Husseiniye Palace in Jordan. Very interesting piece by Daniel Knowles, The Tribalism That Blights African Politics is on the Rise in Europe and America. The very first time I visited Kenya several months before I started covering politics in Africa, I was introduced to a young, eloquent and interesting lawyer with a project to try to fix Kenyan politics. The problem, he explained, was that it is so difficult to persuade people to vote rationally. In Kenya, he explained, most people tend to vote according to their tribe. As a result, he argued, politics produces far too many scoundrels. In a Kenyan election, a politician who does not steal tends to get less votes than somebody who does, but redistributes it to his kin and promises to stand up for them. At the time, I was covering American politics, and even then, before Brexit and Donald Trump, I thought this man overly generous towards Western politics. In America and in Britain too, I pointed out voters are also tribal, since watching the fallout as dozens of neo-Nazis marched in Virginia and Trump refused to denounce them, I've wondered if I was more right than I realized. In the West, our tribes may be less clear-cut. People in Washington, D.C. do still tend to speak the same language as people in Alabama, but nonetheless, it would be a stretch to say that a lot of voters base their decision on a close look at the policies and records of politicians. No, they vote according to their sense of who they feel they are closest to. That is to say, the vote is based on tribal interest. Ultimately, what brings about an end to tribalism is nation building. In Europe, building nations took generations of war and forceful integration. America went through a brutal civil war, and its southern states created a strange history afterwards to paper over their sense of grievance and their loss. But as nations change, the community needs constant reimagining. Nowadays, it seems as if in American Britain we're losing that ability. Our political future then might be a little more African. India's top court has banned the Islamic instant divorce. All in all, therefore, the big question is not whether, but when US commanders decide to call it a day. In Syria, this is Badr Kumar. That point is still not within sight, but Assad has made it clear that although Syria will be open to negotiating diversified external relationships in this conflict, the winner will take all. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro, dollar 117.89. When I walked in this morning, we were above 118. Dollar index 93.18. I'll come back to that in a moment. Dollar yen 109.44. Swiss franc 0.9633. The pound 128.71. The Australian dollar, let's look for that, 0.7937. India rupee 64.085. South Korean won 11.3472, the Rial 316.43, Egyptian pound 17.7355, and the rand, about which I'm more constructive, is currently trading at 13.1604. Dollar index, let me put up a longer term chart. 93.50 is slipping away, and we need to regain that level. Otherwise, I think I foresee another precipitous drop. Dollar yen, this is a chart from triple leverage, 109.42 area. I'm bullish about the yen. I think we're going to go back to 108. Trade weighted sterling is at its weakest in 2017 so far. This is from Birding Word. And actually, sterling has been very soft in the last few weeks, I must say. Commodity markets, gold, last time I looked, 1288. Look at this chart I'm putting up then. You'll see, you know, it's been up there about 1300 a few times and then been rejected. Mnuchin says he's visiting Fort Knox to check that the gold is still there. US futures, which had that extraordinary surge, which completely wrong-footed me on Friday, then gave back about 80% of the rally yesterday to close down 2.32%. $47.53. I still think we're going to go lower, but obviously Friday was an opportunity to take out folks like me. Base metals extend their best rally in 3 years on growth optimism. Industrial metals extended their longest weekly rally in 3 years, with nickel pacing gains and zinc reaching the highest in almost a decade, as investors grew more optimistic about the outlook for supply and demand. Copper climbed as much as 2.1%, nickel up 3.1%. Tea commodity, I like the smell of copper bulls, I found that amusing. The horns fetch as much as $95,000 a kilogram in Asia. That's rhino horn, more than gold. And this is a huge problem. Vanilla price surge hits high-end ice cream consumers. A surge in the price of vanilla pods After a cyclone this year hit Madagascar, the world's top producers left ice cream makers scrambling to secure supplies of the flavouring extract. Using chocolate cakes and drinks as well as ice cream, vanilla is one of the world's most popular flavours. This year's surge, which propelled the price to a record high of more than $600 a kilogram, has forced one high-end London gelato chain to pull vanilla ice cream off the menu and some bigger companies to raise prices. Vanilla farmers in Madagascar see it as the best market in recent memory. For the first time in their lives, Madagascar's vanilla farmers are making enough money to build a home with cement instead of the local palm plant, and can afford to educate their children beyond second grade. Good to hear. Brazil's Lula's on the road, eyeing a comeback despite his graft conviction. Pakistan stocks have entered a bear market after all that political turmoil. Sierra Leone landslide deaths near 500, 600 remain missing. What we're seeing there, it's a precursor to what we can see in so many parts of Africa, because we've just built our cities in a higgledy-piggledy fashion. Lava Lake, Eastern Congo, photograph from David Pilling. The 2017 Angola elections, after 38 years, Angola will soon get a new president, but what is the electoral process? Al Jazeera have a good infographic. Angola's main opposition party repeated its threat to hold street protests if it deems this week's elections unfair. People are being told that if they vote for UNITA, there will be war. The leader of the National Union for the Total Liberation of Angola, Isaias Samakuba, said at his party's last campaign in Luanda before Wednesday's vote, "Not here. We've seen what war is. Are you crazy or what?" And then have a look at this map, which shows you the longest-serving African leaders after Angola's Dos Santos agrees to step down after 39 years. This was the street of Juba on Sunday evening, as per Dennis Dumo. And then I learned that South Sudan has grounded planes belonging to UN peacekeepers in a dispute over control of the airport. OK Investments has agreed to sell its South African media interest to management and an ally of the Friends of President Jacob Zuma. It's a vendor finance transaction, and Zapiro gets it right. It's fake news cycle by Zapiro. Take a look, and that's probably my conclusion as well. South African all share up 9.47% this year. Dollar versus Rand around the 13.1604 level. I think, as I've said before, President Zuma is in the departure lounge, and therefore this is a good time to be buying a little bit of the Rand. I fancy buying it against sterling. President Buhari is seen here receiving a briefing from his Vice President, Professor Osin Badjo, at the State House. Interesting piece by Paul Wallace, quick guide to those who can't figure out a Naira's worth. And this is, these multiple exchange rates that everyone's keen on. It doesn't work. And everyone's keen on Nigeria unifying it to just one exchange rate, which would mean a devaluation. But, Egypt did it. Look at the response they've got. Nigeria's all shares up 36.13% this year. Very interesting piece in the BBC, the city that won't stop growing. How can Lagos cope with its spiralling population? The UN says 14 million. Lagos state government thinks it's nearer 21 million. By 2050, Nigeria will have twice the population it has today. More than half will live in cities, and about 60% of them will be under 25. Have a look at this Mozambique Eurobond. You remember I gave out that buy signal, Jan 23, total return this year, 54.8%. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index up 36.51% year to date. Let's move on to Kenya. Now, in-depth analysis, Raila Odinga's last defeat. This is via Melanie Gooby of the Financial Mail. It was an expected outcome, a scripted one, the opposition might say. Last Friday, Kenya's Electoral Commission announced that the incumbent Uhuru Kenyatta had won the country's presidential election with a little over 54% of the vote. Just as expected, his rival Odinga immediately challenged the result and proclaimed it a fraud of monumental gravity. A second term for Kenyatta is no doubt the scenario that the region and the markets expected and hoped for. A sharp rise in equities, a big slide in bond yields since the election have signalled where the market's preferences lie. I said this: Kenya has built its free market credentials over 50 years, and Kenyatta's election keeps us firmly on that track. An Odinga administration would have downgraded and degraded those credentials. I feel Kenyatta now has a unique opportunity to consolidate and accelerate economic gains. We hope. And then there's more detail. Odinga told the Financial Times that challenging the results is not about me. I'm not going to be a candidate again. We just want Kenyans to know what happened. What the whole world is not understanding is happening. FT, Kenya's opposition outlines vote rigging case ahead of court battle. The appeal is based on analysis of the results forms from the almost 41,000 polling stations and 290 parliamentary constituencies which aggregated the polling station results. These ought to have been accurate, legitimate and verifiable across the country, but are demonstrably contradictory, defective and bear fatal irregularities affecting 14,078 polling stations. I don't think it's systemic. That's where they have not made that argument strong enough. And I think they're confused, and that is informed by that press conference they gave when they, we got you. It was just so elementary, poor. Kenya's June 2019 Euro bonds total return is 3.7% this year. Kenya's June 2024 Euro bonds total return is 14.4% this year. Equity Bank released first half earnings per share down 7.836%. Huge surge in government securities. They're now holding 115.595 billion shillings worth of government bonds. That's up 58.28%. Loans and advances to customers was down 1.467%. Total assets was up 13.614% to clock 504 billion shillings. Profit and loss before tax was down 6.591%. Profit and loss after tax was down 7.416%. What was interesting, and I listened to Dr. Mwangi, who gave a very virtuoso press conference, was Kenya, for example, revenues were down 7%, DRC revenues up 26%, Tanzania up 13%, Rwanda up 49%, Uganda up 17%, South Sudan obviously down 65%. So big increase in government securities. He said intermediation has ceased to be the basis for our model because we have shifted to government paper. Subsidiaries in Tanzania, Congo, Rwanda and Uganda now contribute 10% of the group's total profit, up from 5%. That's a big increase, off a low base, I imagine. Banking industry has now become skewed. The top 10 banks share 92% of the profits. The small banks share 8%, he said. I think these were actually strong results in the context of the pivot to government securities, which compressed the yield on the book. Very bullish about the region, and I think we should see the share price hold. It's up large, but it should hold at these levels. Trading price earning ratio of 9 handle. Kenya shilling hit a 3-month high at 103.05. Nairobi all share rebounded 0.85% yesterday. It's up 24.95% year to date. Opposition call to boycott NTV and Daily Nation did not seriously impact Nation Media share price. I'll put up the link to the share price for you. NSE 20 is up 25.78% year to date. Kenya Orchards reported first half earnings. Take a look at it. I haven't even commented on it because it's very difficult to know what they're doing. Once again, thank you for stopping by.